Hello and welcome to our virtual Math 6 Parent Night, where we are going to discuss what does personalized learning look like in our classroom. So a lot of the questions are, how do we use personalized learning? And when you come into our classroom, it's not going to look like your typical classroom. We use a lot of different teaching methods. So we use teacher-created videos that go along with their notes, Socrative online formative assessments to determine the student's level of understanding, targeted small group instruction to meet the student's needs, and project-based learning activities to extend student understanding and push them to those higher level thinking skills. So we want to invite you into our classroom, and you can see how is kind of laid out. So at the beginning of class, the teacher does a homework demonstration, answers questions, and reviews the topic learned from the previous day. At the start of the lesson, for any student that really struggled on their homework, we pull them aside and we work on it one-on-one with them or in a small group while the rest of the students begin on their video. That way, the student that's having trouble with their homework gets one-on-one attention and the other students aren't held back by some of those students and they can continue to progress with their lesson. In the middle of the lesson after the video, students take the formative Socrative checkpoint and the teacher works with students one-on-one or in a small group to review problems they missed and answer any questions they have. The teacher speaks with every student about the lesson. In the middle of the lesson, while the students wait to meet with the teacher, they are completing practice problems in their binder or rewatching the lesson video for understanding. And if they get below an 80% on their quiz, we ask them to rewatch the video for understanding before they get to their teacher. When students have demonstrated the understanding of the lesson, they move to their project-based learning activity to extend their understanding of the unit, and they can also work individually or cooperatively with another student depending on which unit we are working in. And we have different activities for every unit. Now in lab class, some students may be scheduled and some students may not be, but lab is available to all students where they can pop in during their resource time and they can work on quiz or test corrections. They can work on their PBL or Alex Math, which is our program that we're going to be starting during Unit 3. So since starting personalized learning last year, we've seen higher test scores, greater student understanding, and our students have a lot more confidence in their own skills because it's student directed rather than teacher directed. So if you have any questions, please make sure you bring those questions with you to Parent Night and we'll see you then. As far as communication with your child's teacher, we will be posting all of our information either on our Google site and or on Parent or Student View. Those are going to be the best ways to find information. Mostly everything will be posted on the Google site and then we link from student or parent view to the Google site. So I'm going to give you a navigation of how to use the site in a minute. But if you do have any questions, it's best to just contact your child's teacher directly through email and then we can set up either a conference time or a phone conference so that we can get any issues handled or if we can answer any questions or concerns that you have. So this is our website, and I just wanted to give you some quick navigation of how to get around on it. This is what we call the home page for our website. This is where you're directed to from the Belmont Ridge website. We have a link to our standards, a link to our personalized learning video that's already included in what we're sending home to you, our classroom expectations, which was the form that we sent home. So if you want to print yourself a hard copy of the classroom expectations for Math 6, you're welcome to do that there. And there's also a link to alex.com that we're going to start using later on this school year. Now, we also have the units taught for this school year in a tentative order. They're going to be linked as we get to the units. And there's two ways that you can get to the units. And I'm going to be using ratios, which is a unit that we just finished, to show you how to navigate. There's two ways you can get to the ratios page. You can either click on the link in the units taught, or you can click up at the top and go to the Unit 1 Ratios page. We gave you both ways to get there because sometimes it works better on phones in some locations and sometimes it works different on computers. So we gave you both ways to do it. I'm going to click on the units taught this year and it's going to take me to my Ratios homepage. This is where you will find everything that you need for the unit of ratios. So we have our standard that we're working on. We have the blank notes, so if you need another copy or want some extra practice pages for your student, you can print some there. The key is also there located for you. We do make a few mistakes every once in a while on the key, so if you find one, have your student let us know and we'd be happy to have them fix it for us. We have the blank homework, and then we also have the homework key that they will be using to check their homework at home. If you scroll down, we also put the daily lessons on here. So just like we linked it both ways with the ratios page. You can get to it from the bottom of the page, or you can get to it from the tab up here. We did the same thing with the daily lessons. So you can click these here, or you can see them in the drop-down menu up here. They go to the exact same place. Underneath those, we also have our Socrative classes. These are broken up by teacher. This is where your student clicks to get to their formative assessment that they take in class, or if they're home by chance sick, they can also click on their class period. They'll know which one is theirs, and they can get to the formative assessment. Now let me click on the Introduction to Ratios day, and I'm going to take you to day 1 of Unit 1. So Unit 1, Day 1, Introduction to Ratios. The white part is what is going to be their homework and what we did in class. So Day 1-1, Classroom Introduction and Introduction to Ratios. Their homework was page 20, and to complete the prime factoring module. This is the prime factoring module. When you clicked on this, it took you to a website. So it was an addition to their page 20. That was all you need to pay attention to at home as far as their homework. Now down where you see in the black, required classroom activities, those are things that are from their to-do list in class that they need to complete. So they'll need to watch their video, and you can see the link is there. It links to a YouTube video that we create. And then there's also the link to the Socrative checkpoint. When they click on that link to the Socrative checkpoint, it takes them back to the Ratios homepage, where they select at the bottom, they select their class. So that's how it gets to the Socrative page. Now, if I go back, the other thing that you can pay attention to on that page is if your child is struggling at home, there are some extra resources that go along with that day that they can do at home. There's some videos, there'll be some games, maybe there's an extra website. Any of those things you are welcome to do at home with your student. And it's the same thing for every other day, minus a day that we have like a culminating assessment. So if we go to Day 1-2, for Ratios, it's the same thing. It has the homework that they're going to have. It also has the required classroom activities, which is their video, and the notes pages it covers, and then the Socrative. And then again, we have the extra resources that they can use for practice. This is what a typical flip chart looks like that we post up on the board for when students come into the room. We put the date of the lesson. So, for example, this is Unit 1, Day 2. And if you're ever absent, we do try our best to email this home to you so you can see exactly what your child did in class that day. And then we also put the dates of the lesson over here. The first date is the A day. The second date is the B day that we have class. We ask the students to open to their homework as soon as they walk in and write their homework down in their agenda. We do go around and verify that homework is correctly written in their agenda. And then based on whatever we were doing, today we were going into the Google site, and then we were watching the video. The beginning of the to-do list is posted at the bottom of this. Now the next page is the to-do list that we post in class. This actually lays out everything that we're doing for the entire lesson. So students may get to all of this and they may not, depending on how they perform on their Socrative, which is our formative assessment. That kind of drives our instruction. So the first thing that they would do after we went over homework, because right now paper homework, we have to go over it on the board and then we can meet one-on-one with students. But eventually we're going to be getting to the point where we do online homework through our program called Alex Math. And once we start doing online homework, we will actually sit down with students one-on-one and go over each individual problem with them if they were having any issues. So on this day, they were beginning their lesson video. It covered notes pages 8, 9, 10, and 11. Not all of those pages, just partials of them. They did a Socrative quiz, which is their formative assessment they take. It tells us how much of the lesson that they're understanding. And then they were to work on their practice pages, and they can check it in the Google site. During that time, the teacher was pulling the students to go over any questions they missed on the Socrative assessment and answer any questions from the lesson that they have. Now on this day, they were prepping for their quiz, which was going to be the next class. As we progress through the school year, they'll begin working on projects and their One to the World activities. So it's not necessarily just studying and working on notebook pages as we get further on in the year. For grading in Math 6, we use a total point system with 2 categories, tests and quizzes. Homework is scored for correctness, but is not impacting their class grade. So it's formative. It does go into the grade book so that you are aware at home how your student is doing on their homework. Any quiz grade below an 80% does require quiz corrections and a parent signature on the quiz so that we know that you have received it. Now, this is where homework kind of becomes a little bit more important in the picture, because if your child requires grade replacement, now what does that mean? All quizzes, if the student does poorly on the quiz, they have the opportunity to improve their score with the unit test. And that is a 100% translation. So if they get an 80% on the test, but they got a 60% on the quiz, as long as all of their homework is turned in, their quiz corrections are made, their quiz is signed, their Are You Ready, which is their practice test, is completed, and their study guide is completed, we will take that 80 that they got on the unit test and replace their quiz grade and make it also an 80%, or as close to an 80% as we can get it. Now, that's why homework is important in our class. Though it is not counted toward a student's grade, it is counted towards their eligibility to get grade replacement. So homework is important for us, even though it is not in the grade book. And as I stated before, all tests and quizzes need to be signed. And to speak a moment about unit tests cannot be retested. So whatever the student gets on a unit test is the final grade for the unit test. They're still asked to make corrections to their test so that we make sure they understand it for whenever they get to their state test or whenever they take a progress assessment throughout the year, but unit tests for their grade are not retested. Now, as far as summative, formative, and learning skills, these are some things that you may see in our grade books when you look in parent view or student view. Summatives include your tests, your quizzes, your PBL, which are project-based learning projects, and we'll start those soon on a menu, a One to the World project, and these count towards your student's total grade. So these are what we factor in. Now, formative is your homework, your Are You Ready, which is your practice test, your study guide. Those things are not for grading. And then the learning skill, those are what we do with corrections and with signatures or anything else that just requires a satisfactory, unsatisfactory mark. So if your child does require corrections or signatures, we'll use those categories to let you know that A, they've been turned in, or maybe they're excused from it because they got a B or above on their quiz or on their test. Thank you for joining us for our online parent night. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to email your teacher directly or come to back to school night with your questions. You will have a formative Socrative checkpoint when you come to back to school night so we can determine your level of understanding. And we look forward to meeting you if you're able to attend, and you have a wonderful day.